nashindwa na mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Nashindwa na mali sina we.
Jack Wood, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Tanganyika, East Africa. Holly and I took off, and we left Dar and we went up country and then headed south on trains, and our goal was to get all the way to southern Africa. We were going to try to get to Cape Town.
So we're using this, so this wasn't a project, this was like a vacation trip.
This was our vacation one. This was our month, you know, at the end of the first year when we were entitled to a month of vacation. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that happened on that trip, but the first thing we did was go into the Congo, and we went up to Elizabethville or whatever it was, and boy, I'll tell you, getting back out of the Congo, the authorities on the train were convinced that we were smuggling diamonds out of the country, and so they wanted to search us before we got out of there. And that, I think that was probably, even notwithstanding the lion in the acacia tree, I think the scariest day I had in 2 years there in Africa was the day that we got searched.
Tell that story, describe it.
I mean, we were on the train, you know, and at that time, I never used tube toothpaste. I always used tooth powder to brush my teeth, and those guys even took my tube of tooth powder and dumped it out, thinking that there were diamonds hid in that little vial of tooth powder that I used to use for brushing my teeth. I was happy to be out of that place, but that...
Howard Siegel. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Tanganyika, and then we took the marathon trip that I'm having a bit of difficulty getting the time frame straight, because it appears that we may have been gone for 2 months, which seems like an abnormally long amount of time. But we took a trip south, spent a lot of time, well, spent time in Zambia, time in...
How'd you get down to Zambia then?
Probably flew, went to Zambia, into Lusaka, took a bus up to the northwest corner to Ndola, took a train into the Congo, which was a story by itself. We spent time in Lusaka trying to get the visa into the Congo. We were finally granted a 48-hour visa. The only way you could go if you were going from Ndola was to take the train. From the time you crossed the border and they stamped you in, till you got to wherever we were going, and you spent your day or two, or day, and took the next train out, it was well beyond 48 hours when you crossed the border again. And we had heard stories, and why do you really want to go there? Because it's there, that's why. We went up. We spent, I guess, a night or 2 nights. Getting across the border going in was strange, but you know, nothing really abnormal. Found a place to stay, found a place to eat, totally French. I don't speak any French. Jack didn't speak any French. We survived our day, got back on the train, and hit the border 52, 51, 53 hours with a little bit of trepidation. And they stopped the train at the border, and everybody gets off and goes into the customs and immigration tent. And not everybody got back on the train. There were locals who did not get back on the train. And when I was back on the train, the choo-choo went choo-choo, toot-toot, and started moving. Wow, we were out of there. We were out of there.
We were in southern Rhodesia on the day, it was the, I don't know, was it the 11th and the 5th of November, when Ian Smith declared independence from England.
So you were there on the day
On
or
the,
shortly
on the
thereafter?
very day. We were there the day that he declared independence, and that was a bit of an I mean, actually nothing happened. There was no celebrations, or I don't remember anything distinct, but we were there that day. But anyway, that was not the highlight of that trip. The highlight of it, and the sad memory for me, was when we got to the border between southern Rhodesia and South Africa, and we had to get visas to enter South Africa, and so we got off the train and walked into this building where we were supposed to get visas, and the guy at the desk said, he pointed at me and he said, "You go over there," and he pointed at Howie and he said, "You go over there," and we had no idea what the deal was. Thought two different lines, and he's just dividing people up. Well, anyway, 5 minutes later, I walk out with a visa to enter South Africa, and Howie was told no because of his skin color.
Is he slightly dark? Interesting.
And so they refused to give him a visa. And so this is one of the defining moments in my life. It's funny how some of these things. So then, Howie and I were pretty close, and so now what do? I got a visa, he doesn't. So do I go on by myself, or do I stick with my buddy and we both turn around together and go back? And that was for me, that was a gut-wrenching experience.
And so then what happened?
So maybe selfishly, I don't know, I can't remember. I think Howie and I talked it over, and he agreed to go back north by himself, and I kept going south by myself. So I did the rest of South Africa by myself.
We had tried before we left Salisbury to get visas to get into South Africa. Jack got a visa, I didn't. So Jack hopped the whatever and went south, and I hung around in Salisbury for a day or so and decided I was going to go east. So I hopped the plane and went over to Lourenco Marques in Mozambique. Being I was familiar with all of their freedom fighters, I figured I'd see the other side of the story. Spent a couple of days in Lourenco Marques, hopped the plane and headed back to Dar. And difficult to put a time frame, and looking at the stamps and the visa and the passport, it looks like it was a long trip. And I just don't remember it being that long, but we did a lot of things.
Now, do you have a memory? I mean, that's fairly dramatic, being refused entrance into a country. Any memory of that?
Well, I looked just like this.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing jeans. I was wearing funny shorts and a white shirt. Black beard. You couldn't, if I turned sideways, your camera wouldn't have gotten a picture of me, because I'm probably well over 100 pounds more now than when I came back. For whatever reason, they made the decision. Jack was tall and very white, having taught inside most of the time, and I had spent the better part of a year out on the roads, out in the sunshine, so that could have been a factor, but oh well.
Nami nifanyeje, kijana mwenzio, nashindwa na mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Nashindwa na mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika.